I am so excited to be in the home of Jessica Siskin, the author of Treat Yourself, which is the best name for a book, so congratulations on your new book.
Thank you so much.
So this book is so fun. It's all about how to take Rice Krispie Treats and make them into various shapes and sizes. People have been doing this with cakes for a long time, but why are Rice Krispie Treats such a great venue for that?
Rice Krispies Treats are so much easier to make than cake.
Yeah.
From the second you start the process until you finish, sometimes it takes under half an hour because there's no waiting time involved.
What makes Rice Krispie Treats so easy?
So there are two hacks that I figured out over the years. The first one is if you don't let the marshmallows melt too much, you will have a much more malleable mixture. So that is my first hack, and that actually makes a huge difference in not only how you're able to mold them, but also how long they last and how long they stay delicious and chewy. And the other hack, which is sort of common sense, but I figured it out over time, is to make sure your hands are properly lubricated with cooking spray. You can then mold it like it's clay or anything else. It won't stick to you. And because you haven't let the marshmallows melt too much, it won't be as sticky as it would be if you had.
What is the storage and travel options for Rice Krispie Treats?
So fortunately, they travel pretty well because they're
solid.
Right, they're solid. So you just put them in a box. You can cover them with foil if you need to. But as far as storage goes, I would store them in the freezer. That keeps them super fresh.
And how do they unfreeze?
They defrost so quickly. It's wild. You take it out and it's defrosted in like 20 minutes.
What are the sort of items that people need to have at home if they want to start making Rice Krispie Treats in decorative ways for themselves?
So the basic ingredients are simple: butter, mini marshmallows, Rice Krispies cereal. And then the additional ingredients are also pretty easy to source. So I use gel food coloring, which is really, now that we have the internet, I mean, you can get anything in a day, so you can order those online.
Shelf-stable items are so easy.
But because cake decorating has become so popular, all of the party supply stores and baking supply stores will carry these types of food colorings. You're also going to want icing, which is another thing that's available widely.
Wonderful. So you're going to make us a treat today. What are we making, and why is this one such a special one?
So we're going to make an avocado toast treat. And this is actually something that's not in the book, so it's a really fun departure. There is an avocado in the book, so it's inspired by the book, but everyone loves avocado toast.
Awesome. Well, will you take us into your kitchen?
Yes, let's do it. So now we're in my kitchen and we are ready to get started making our avocado toast crispy treat. So the first thing I'm gonna do is turn on my burner to about medium and cut my butter. So we're gonna use 3 tablespoons of butter right now and 4 cups of mini marshmallows. So I prefer to use mini marshmallows over regular marshmallows because they tend to melt a lot more evenly and quickly, and let them sit for a minute before I start stirring. So I'm stirring my mini marshmallows, and this happens pretty quickly that they begin to melt. My big trick that I share in the book is that you don't want to let your marshmallows melt too much. You only want to let them melt to about like 75 to 80%, but we are at the place where I will add my food coloring. So we are making bread for the avocado toast, so I'm gonna add a little bit of gold and a tiny bit of white to achieve the bread color. All right, so now we're at the marshmallow level where we turn off the burner. And I'm gonna measure out my Rice Krispies. So I'm gonna use 6 cups. The ratio of butter to marshmallows to Rice Krispies is the pretty standard ratio. You can use this recipe in any measurement you'd like. Just mixing together our butter and marshmallow mixture and our Rice Krispies cereal. I'm just gonna pull out my cake board. So this is a coated cardboard cake board. You can buy these at any party supply store or baking supply store. They are really easy to find these days. See, I just sprayed my hands with some cooking spray and rubbing it together. So a lot of people like to use gloves when they're cooking for other people. I washed my hands before we got started, and I'm making this for fun, so you can do whatever you want at home, but I like to mold with my hands because that way I can get a lot more precision. If you're working without a coated cake board, you can work on a baking sheet. You can then use a parchment base and move it to any serving surface that you like off of the parchment once you've frozen it a little bit. But I like to make them directly on here. So I'm just molding this into basically a bread shape. And now it's time to make the crust. I'm gonna use a smaller ratio of the recipe. Turning my burner back on. 1 tablespoon of butter and 3/4 of a cup of mini marshmallows. That's a tiny bit. So for the crust, I'm just gonna add a little bit of brown. Normally I'd use a smaller pot for such a small batch, but since we already have this out. And then we're gonna measure out 2 cups of cereal that are gonna go right in as soon as I turn off my burner, which I did. And I am just mixing this up, and as you see, that brown marshmallow mixture very quickly made the Rice Krispies brown. So now to make the crust, I'm going to once again spray my hands with cooking spray. So it's really important that you begin molding your mixture right away. That way it will be at its most malleable possible point when you start working with it, and you'll be able to get the most precision that way. We have successfully crusted our bread slice. So in order to make the avocado, I'm gonna use this decorating icing, and I'm going to dye it the color of avocado. So I'm gonna use some food coloring. This food coloring is actually a color called avocado. And I like gel food coloring because it's a little bit more pigmented, so you don't have to use as much. So I'm gonna add a little bit more color here. A little bit of yellow. You can always add more, but you can't take away. So I actually am pretty pleased with the avocado color. I'm gonna start glopping it on here. And don't worry if it's a little bit messy, because avocado toast is a little messy. And then, so you just take a little offset spatula and we're gonna smear it. Yeah, so I like to leave the edges so you can see that it's actually a Rice Krispies treat and not a cake or something else. We're gonna add some pizzazz now with some sprinkles, which will represent our chili flakes and all the other fun things. I made a sprinkle mix. This has a bunch of different colors of sprinkles in it. I actually used some red lips from a Valentine's Day sprinkle mix that I had laying around. And we also have some yellow and red nonpareils and some orange sprinkles. And I'm just gonna start sprinkling it on here. There's also like a little tiny bit of Oreo crumbs in here for that brown color. But the last thing we need to do is we're gonna add a shallow slice. So here we have our avocado toast. If you want more fun recipes, including a regular avocado, you can pick up my book Treat Yourself wherever books are sold.